Pointed criticism of the CIQ government when warranted. It's the Elias Macko Show on CJAD 800. And joining us now is the one, the only, the love of my life. Marlene Jennings is president of the Quebec Community Groups Network. And I love you, Marlene. Welcome to the show.
I love you too, Elias.
Oh,
You're such a sweetie pie.
I can't wait for the text messages of people saying you are biased towards Marlene Jennings. Can't possibly.
That's okay. I'm biased towards Elias Macko.
It can't possibly be that I believe that most people are good and deserve to have the benefit of the doubt. Can't possibly be it. Marlene, welcome to the show. Let's talk turkey here. On this program over the last few weeks, okay? We heard from a whole bunch of people. Obviously, we heard from you. We heard from the Francophone CJAD students. We heard from the Montreal Chamber of Commerce. We heard from the Montreal Economic Institute. And they all have pointed critiques of how bad Bill 96 will be. I know you've been right at the forefront of that. With all of the stuff you have heard, do you think there's a possibility we will see changes to Bill 96 at the end of the day, or, as you hope, a complete scrapping?
I think that there may be, I don't think that the government's going to scrap it, and I think that that's a mistake. I think that the government will try to appease some organizations and sectors, segments of our population by tinkering with the bill. The problem is that the bill is fundamentally flawed. And in order to achieve some parts of the bill, they have to have certain provisions in other parts of the bill, and those provisions are a real problem. The government, I wonder what Minister Fitzgibbons thinks about all of this. He was just in, I believe it was in Silicon Valley, literally lauding the praises of Quebec and how we're a place for artificial intelligence, for, all of these super technical innovations that are happening across the board. And he's right. However, if Bill 96 goes through, is adopted, that's going to put the brakes on that sector of industry being able to recruit highly qualified experts, technicians, workers, you name it, in that area because of all of the problems with Bill 96. I'd really love to know what Fitzgibbons thinks about this bill because can I ask you something, understands it.
Marlene, can I ask you something here? I'm interested that you brought up Pierre Fitzgibbon because little birdies have told me that inside the CAQ, it's not like, everyone's 100% of favor of this bill, and it's the economic hawks that are leading the charge against it, right? So you bring up Pierre Fitzgibbon. I had heard that name in the background, little birdie telling me that, he's one of the guys. Have you heard something on that end? Do you think internally there's a little bit more strife than comes out in public?
Well, there always is. I mean, I had the privilege and honor of being an MP for 14 years, and as a member of the Privy Council, parliamentary secretary to Prime Minister Paul Martin, I got to sit at some cabinet committee meetings and that dealt with Canada-U.S. relations. So I know that there's always streams that are going on deep down in the minds that don't bubble up to the surface, but there's work going on. And believe me, I think that le Conseil du Patronat du Québec, Montréal International, le Chambre de commerce, la Fédération des chambres de commerce du Québec, le Chambre de commerce Montréal Métropolitaine, all of these different private sector business groups, they have their links directly into the Gérard, the Minister of Finance, Fitzgibbons, and I'm trying to think of the other names. There are two other names. Those are what you call the economic files. Yeah. You can bet that they have been on the phone very, very quietly saying, you got a problem here.
Yeah, and
we have a real problem. The question will be whether or not those ministers with economic files will be able to move Premier Legault so that if he doesn't scrap the bill, he does a major overhaul of the bill.
With Marlene Jennings, president of the Quebec Community Groups Network. Now, Marlene, I've heard, and I know that they love using this notwithstanding clause, which I think is a real tactical error. If you believe in what you believe in, go without it, and then if you need to use it, but using it preemptively, not a fan at all. Now, but having said that, I hear from people that despite using the notwithstanding clause, this Bill 96 is something that can be challenged, will head straight to the courts, and there's a lot of firepower in that challenge. What do you say to that? Will there be a challenge? Will you be part of a challenge if Bill 96 goes through?
Well, there definitely will be a challenge in the same way there's a challenge of Bill 21, the CJAD bill, as it's commonly called, and the government used preemptively the notwithstanding clause, and there's still a challenge. So there will be court challenges on Bill 96 if it gets adopted. My thing is that there would be, if the bill gets adopted as is, there will be court challenges. The problem is that unless a court says that it is not operable, that the application of the bill is suspended until all of the court challenges reach the Supreme Court and there's a final and definitive decision, that's going to create havoc for Quebec. It's going to create havoc on our economic side. It's going to create havoc on our innovation side, a culture, you name it. It is going to create havoc if the bill is adopted, even with minor tinkering, and is allowed to be applied while court challenges happen.
We got 1 million Anglophones in this province, Marlene. One of the things when I look at U.S. politics, if there's one thing I'd import, because there's not much I would import from U.S. politics, but if there's one thing I would import is, sometimes when there's big issues like this, there's massive campaigns. Call your senator, email your senator, write letters to your senator, that kind of stuff, or your congressman, whatever it is. And there's 1 million Anglophones. And there are, I forget, I don't have the current number, but all of the CAQ MNAs, right, that are going to be passing this bill. Of course, let's not forget the Liberals who apparently are going to vote for this bill too, right? Let's not forget the Liberals will also be voting with this bill. Please as it seems, right? Liberals. So what would you say to the 1 million Quebec Anglophones, not historic, the Anglophones, what would you say to them to fight back right now? What's the strategy?
I would say write to your MNA, regardless of which political party that person represents, and say that you're opposed to Bill 96 and why. Go on to the QCGN website, and you'll see we have a petition, no to notwithstanding. We also have form letters that can be sent to Premier Legault. It can be sent to your MNA, and we say, put their feet to the fire. The MNAs, whether it's a CAC, you live in the regions and you have a CAC MNA or a Parti Québécois MNA, put their feet to the fire on this Bill 96.
Minister for Anglo is Francois Legault. I have to wrap up, Marlene, but I just want to ask you, Francois Legault, he's the government's called upon you in the past, right, with the AMSB. What are your thoughts on Francois Legault as we wrap up here?
I actually like Francois Legault. I don't agree with him on some issues, but on others, I agree with him. I think that we are special here in Quebec. I think that we are a monde à part. And I think that our specificity is by the fact that majority Francophone with what hopefully will continue to be a flourishing English-speaking minority and other minority groups, and that we're part of Quebec. We're an integral part of Quebec.
Marlene Jennings rocks my world, and she's also president of the Quebec Community Groups Network. Thank you so much, Marlene.
My pleasure, Elias.